Hello friends, from me and my dearest Alice and her bum. She's gonna be here the whole video, so welcome to my winter filming location where there's no sunlight whatsoever at like 5:30 in the evening. So this is where I can get light from my kitchen ceiling light. Anyway, so this is already a more casual video as you can see. We're gonna do the Q&A that I promised, that I said I was gonna do, and I'm very excited about this. I love answering your questions, which you probably can't tell because I usually don't get around to answering everyone's questions in the comments, but that's what these videos are for. So thank you. If you commented on my last video, I will try to get to as many questions as I can today, and if I don't get to your question, it is probably because I thought it was a great question and I'd like to do a whole video on it one day. So my apologies if you don't get your question answered today. I might even go in the comments and type something out for you later. Anyway, let's get on with it. Okay, so I just really made an effort to lift up the camera by about 1 inch because this view is just really not flattering when you're looking down at the camera like this, but whatever. Maybe one day I'll get a more professional tripod. Again, if you want to go on my Patreon and support, I'd love it. So, first question I will answer. Let's see. So, Sky Aiken said, when did you start ballet? Also, when did you start taking ballet seriously? So I started ballet when I was 6 and I started taking it seriously when I was about 12, and then at 13 or 14, that is when I decided I want to do this. This is going to be my career, my profession, and that was the beginning of the end. And Sarah Golzari says, where did you dance when you study abroad? I'm moving to France next year and really need to find a studio. Yay! Oh my gosh, I had the best experience at this studio in Paris called, it was called Studio Harmonic, I think, and it was just magnificent. Paris Opera Ballet dancers go there when they want to take a class outside of their, like company schedule, I guess, and lots of other really beautiful dancers go, as well as like casual crowds of people that just like to dance, and so it's really cool. Some of the instructors were like really awesome. Actually, I loved every instructor I had there. So if any of you guys end up in Paris at any point in time, even if just for a vacation, visit Studio Harmonic and go for a class. It's just top notch. I did ballet and contemporary classes there and it was all really cool. So anyway, next question. Oh, here we go. So Maria Clara Lozanda Ocampo, I'm gonna assume you are Hispanic, so I said your name with a little flair. She says, have you teached? Do you have any interest in teaching? Because I think you'd be a great teacher. Thank you, Maria. That is very kind. I do teach every single week. I'm teaching 3 classes right now. I have taught privates before, and I really like doing that. I teach ballet and pointe, and when necessary, I do teach jazz classes, though it's not really my forte, but like I can make it happen. It's fun, and I do really enjoy it, so yes, I do teach. AC Ballerina 62 says, what type of frieds do you wear? I wear fried classics. Right now I'm wearing the B maker, and in the deep vamp style, so I don't get like wing block or anything specific. I just like to get the classics in the deep vamp, and I cut the shank myself, or I 3/4 it, because I don't like how the pros are 3/4 already. It's a little too high of an arch for me. I have like my arch is more towards the middle of my foot, so I like to cut it, and I wear on rotation the B maker, butterfly, Y, T, L, O, F, a lot. I can wear a lot of different frieds, because when you gotta get some shoes, you just kind of take the closest thing that works for you. It's very common for makers to go out of stock or to not be available when you need them, so thusly, that is why I have like 6 or 7 makers I can wear if I have to. Ooh, I like this question. Yanarly. She says, number one, how is your plant-based journey / transition going? So I'll just go ahead and answer the first part to the question. I love that. Thank you. It is going really well. I think in July, that is when I said, okay, I'm a vegan. I started labeling myself that way and like telling people that. And that was a big step to kind of like come out of the closet, so to speak, and feel like if I go out to eat, I'm kind of held accountable. Like I won't just be chill, like if there's kind of an egg in there or something. And I'm not saying like I will never mess up ever, 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 but like I feel compelled to like just be pure in my ethical decisions to be a vegan. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I've really enjoyed making friends that also share the same views. It's kind of like a special thing when you find someone who thinks the same way you do. And yeah, anyway, I do enjoy being a vegan now, and I'd say my transition is over. I've like arrived where I said I was gonna be. It took about 7 months from when I went vegetarian to fully vegan. Of course, I was like vegan at home like pretty much right away because it's so easy, but eating out was kind of a different thing because I'm such a foodie, and when I travel, I love traveling. It's a big part of tourism to me to like experience the food, and so sometimes if there were eggs in something, I would just be really chill about it. And now I've like found a lot of different ways where I can modify things at restaurants, and I don't feel like it's robbing my joy or like destroying my experience of eating out. Like that was what took me a while. It was figuring out the balance of like being happy and not feeling like I'm doing this to stress myself out or to like put restrictions on myself. That's why I took the time, so I could really make the like mental connections that would help me be like at peace in every stage of the journey. So anyway, yeah, there's that. And for number two, our second part of the question, it says, pertaining to your ballet class, what are your strengths and what areas are you working to improve in? That's a very good question. Right now, since I'm like 2 months out of surgery, I'm working on a lot of things. I could kind of answer this like in the context of like when I was healthy versus now. So like my strengths have always been my artistry and my musicality. So I really enjoy I enjoy all of class. That I kind of treat every combination as a chance to make good musical decisions and artistic decisions and like really make it my own without changing the combination from what it is. Like that's a fine art, I think. A fine line. It's an art and a fine line. So anyway, but I think my strengths are waltz combinations because I really enjoy moving, taking up space. Like I think my strength is like being a good mover with a nice aesthetic, so I think waltz, that's like one of my strengths. Adagio too, even though I don't have like the highest extensions, I think my artistry can really come out in adagio, so I do think that's one of my strengths. And also, like, a side note, pretty much anything to a mazurka or a tango, I freaking come alive, I think that's like my strength. Any combination to a tango or a mazurka. Or, Polonaise is good too. So when I was really healthy, Alice is moving the chair where my camera is. So when I was really healthy, what I was working to improve was my flexibility and holding positions. So I'm not talking about balances necessarily, but like having a lot of clarity when I dance. I need to adjust my camera slightly. Okay, so I needed to have more clarity when I dance, really separating the steps, and like if I was doing a piqué arabesque, making sure everything isn't like always moving, going to a développé and just moving, like having an arrival in a position and like showcasing that position. That's what I was working on, as well as consistency in pirouettes. Like I can do pirouettes, but I felt like my finishes weren't always strong. So I was working on that. I'm still working on those things, but post-surgery, I lost a lot of strength in my right hip and glutes. So my développés with the left leg in the air have significantly lowered because it actually takes so much, like I think most of the battle in having a good développé, most of the work is in the supporting leg, specifically at the hip, so around the glutes and the top of the thigh. That is where your strength really comes from, your support and your ability to get your other leg higher. So I'm getting that back, and that's really hard. It's really weird because my right leg, though it was the injured leg, it has always been my strong, very stable leg. Now it's not. So I'm trying to get that back. And releves. But anyway, yeah, so those are the things I'm working on. However, I've come a very long way and I'm starting to jump again, and that's really cool. So yeah, I've made it farther than I thought I would in this time, and I'm really thankful. Even though this process would never be fast enough for me, and it's felt like forever and a day because it's been kind of like a year since I've been struggling with this. So anyway, but I'll get there. Thanks for asking. So this could be its own video, but I do think this is a great question to bring up. So Catherine Serbo, sorry. She says, when should you go to a year-round program and how to find the best one for you? So I think this is obviously very individual, but I think it's important, depending on your situation, to go between the ages of 16 and 17. I think that's like really ideal. 15 is great, like if you have if you're already mature for your age. Like as far as getting good training, 15 is like a really awesome time to get like pre-professional training. But for most people, they are not mentally ready to leave home at that point. And I've noticed when people leave home too soon, if they're not there in their maturity, they have, there are like some developmental issues. I'm just gonna be honest, and I'm sorry if you're one of those people. I'm not like, I'm only speaking from the people I've observed. Like I just kind of feel like there's a difference in personal growth as they go into adulthood. Like there's kind of just a learning curve they never hit if they weren't like under their parents' guidance for a longer period of time. I think just kind of being let loose at 15, 14, oh, I've heard of 13-year-olds going. It's like, it's a little much. It's a little much for that age. And as far as how to find the best one for you, I think, well, first off, where you get accepted. Second, like, cause you don't always have like all the options open. Like audition for places that stylistically you are interested in. So right now I think there's less of a market for like super classically Russian trained dancers. I'm not saying that is not a valuable technique. That is not what I'm saying. But if you have like very obvious Russian training with like the affectations and with just like the very specific stylized details, I think in America at least there's less of a market for that in the professional realm, as in like you might have a harder time transitioning into getting a professional contract. Same like with the extremes and balancing programs. I think that is a better way to go than like very classical Russian training. But yeah, just pay attention to what schools you're going to audition for as far as like what style they instruct in, and have that kind of align with your aesthetic, your personal aesthetic, like what works on your body, what makes you happy, and what company you want to go to in the future. So yeah, I hope that helps. Oh, well, Music123 says, how are you? I think that is such a nice question. Thank you so much for asking. I'm doing really well right now. I feel like kind of my old self again. I'll be completely honest. With this injury, it's taken a lot out of me. And I just kind of felt like I wasn't I wasn't as optimistic as I have always been. I wasn't choosing to be joyful. And that's been a big characteristic of mine all my life. Like, even when things don't go really well, I've kind of always had the spirit of choosing to be joyful regardless. Now, I mean, I obviously have my moments. Everyone goes through emotional things, but there's a positivity and a joy that you could choose into every day. Happiness is circumstantial, but joy is something where you're always choosing to kind of see the silver lining in it all. So I felt like I stopped doing that for a long time, and just this week I felt a breakthrough there personally, and so I'm doing a lot better. I feel like my old self again. I feel joyful, and I love that. So thank you for asking. LOL. Okay, Stella Mo says, I really want to know about your love life and ballet. Love life. No. I'm single. Yeah, that's all I'll say. I don't want to get too personal about it. Yeah, so single, happy that way. It's not that I'm against dating whatsoever, but so I hold myself to a very high standard, and I am very ambitious, and that is a quality I really admire in people, as well as like a lot of very important things. Like, I am a Christian and I want to date someone who's a Christian, because that's a huge part of my life, and if I can't share that with someone, they really can't know me, in a deep sort of way. So anyway, yeah, as far as like ambitious people too, like, it's kind of hard to find that in a person. So in a person that is not already taken. So yeah, anyway, I'm not gonna get too far into that, but yeah, just haven't found the right person yet, and I'm happily single. Okay, so Rachel Stevens says, do you ever feel like quitting dance even though you have a passion for it? Very good question. I haven't ever felt that way in the sense of being burned out. I'm very lucky. I have actually never really gotten burned out. But with my injury, there was a time where I actually thought I would have to quit for my own health. That was the only reason. Otherwise, no, I haven't. But it's very, very common for dancers to go through periods of just like really overworking themselves, and they feel like they want to explore other things. They kind of think about quitting. It's totally normal. So if you're going through that, don't beat yourself up over it. Like, you're a human. So Penelope26442 says, I have a very random question for you. Who are your favorite dancers? And if you're into Russian ballet, who are your favorite Russian ballerinas? My favorite dancers. Oh my gosh, I have so many. But I don't really like focus on that much anymore. I don't really have like certain dancers in mind, but I will say that when I was dancing at the Houston Ballet Academy, I just thought, okay, I thought that Catherine Precourt, I think she's a first soloist now. Like, I just thought she was the shiz, man. Like, as a really tall woman, I was just like very impressed with how she just moved, and she could move quickly, and like she could do everything, and she was about 5'10", and just totally shattering that stereotype of like tall dancers moving slowly, and she could totally do that too. Like, she could do anything. So anyway, I loved watching Catherine Precourt at Houston Ballet, tons of other dancers at Houston Ballet that I was just like drooling over all the time. Same with Oklahoma City Ballet, where I dance now. Like, there are lots of people I love watching. So yeah, but I'd say Catherine Precourt, she's a bit of, I guess, an underdog, because she's not like in all of the magazines and things like that. But yeah, so that's my answer. And for Russian ballet, so I'm not that, like up to date with who is really famous in Russia right now and all that. Like, obviously everyone knows Svetlana, Svetlana Zakharova, or Zakharova. A lot of people say that. I think it's Zakharova. She is obviously wonderful, but okay, even though she doesn't dance in Russia anymore, she is Russian. Paulina Semyonova, I think she is at, I think she's dancing in Berlin now. But Paulina Semyonova is a dancer I've admired since I was very young. I think she was the first ballerina from Russia that I was just like, you're a goddess, like what? Oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm gonna say Polina Semyonova. Okay, this video is getting super long, so I'm gonna stop here. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks for sending in your questions. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you want more like daily, not daily, I don't post daily, but like casual fun content. I post stuff every week on there. And also, if you'd like to support me on Patreon, I'd really appreciate that. And subscribe if you haven't already. Blah, 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 blah. You guys know what to do. So I'll see you next time. Adios.